G'day, guys. Welcome back to StatChat Sports. Here with me, Josh. We've got Tazza and BT on the line. This is our chit-chat podcast. We try to make it weekly. Occasionally it's not. It's been a little bit hit and miss, but we're back, fellas. And we're here to talk about just all sorts of sports, not just our AFL, which is a bit of our bread and butter of late, but the whole world of sports. And there's been lots happening this week, BT.
Yeah, we got Formula One started up, cricket over in Pakistan. Obviously, we've been talking about the footy, Premier League. There's all sorts of sport going on at the moment. Boxing, a few Australian fighters have.
That's where I wanted to start. So the boxing, there was obviously the big fight over the weekend. I don't know if you both saw it, but I, for one, could not believe that Will Smith had the right arm that he did. That hook was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Oh, that was a clean hit, wasn't it?
Chris Rock did very well to take that.
He did.
Took that like an absolute champion.
Yeah,
it was a real slap, wasn't it? He just came in and just went. It was good form from Will. I liked
the way he struts off the stage too. He was pretty happy with himself. Big grin on his face.
He is. He's an absolute showman. But of course, the main fight, BT, as you were saying, Tim Tszyu coming up trumps over in the States. You watched this one, didn't you?
Yeah, I try and watch most of his fights. I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's had 21 fights now. He's had 21 fights, 15 knockouts. There you go. That's your stack for you. Nice and early.
Hey.
21-0, by the way. Never lost. And that was his first fight over in the US.
Was there a bit of a controversy? Sorry, BT. Was there a bit of a controversy with the scoring in this one?
There's always controversy with scoring in boxing. It's probably one of the most corrupt sports there is out there, outside the Olympics. It was good because he got knocked down round one, it may have been, or early in the fight, whenever it was, and then obviously came back and won by unanimous decision. It was good. Finally, he had a fight overseas, and he still looked as good as he does when he fights here. So hopefully he can keep the ball rolling and see him in a big title fight soon.
What do you think is next for Tszyu? What's the big draw card that you see him going after?
Around those weight classes, there's some real big names, and he's just not there at the moment. So he's just going to fight these lower type guys, as they do in boxing. Get up to your 30 wins, your 35 wins, and then that's when they start. It'll be like a 35-0 versus a 38-0 type fight, and that's where you get your big bucks. That's how the boxing world works. So hopefully he can just keep it going and get to that stage, and then because he's following in after his dad Costa Tszyu, so he was a champion boxer back in the day.
Yeah, no, we'll certainly keep an eye on that one. So very nice work from Tim Tszyu over the weekend. Tazza, let's go a little bit more your forte, NFL. It's died down a little bit, just a little bit. So we spoke about this on our last Chit Chat podcast, and obviously me being a Chargers fan was very happy about what was going on, but plenty of action, but a little bit less, I think, than the initial first wave.
Yeah, look, that first wave was a tsunami of news and just goings on. That was unreal. There were players flying everywhere. Just it turned the league on its head, really, those first couple of weeks. But we have had some big news. Deshaun Watson to the Browns on a big, dirty contract.
My goodness, this was unreal.
It's a monster. Yeah, look, he comes with strings attached. I mean, the Chargers aren't, from what I know, I'm pretty sure they've been dropped or they're over for now, but there are still strings attached there. And I don't know how he could pay that much money. $230 million guaranteed for a bloke with that many strings.
If he never plays another down, it's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he's a freak. He's done some pretty good things in the time that he's spent on the field, but I don't know about you, Joshy, but that feels like a bit of a bust contract waiting to happen.
It feels like a classic Browns to me. That's kind of what it feels like. But I think the thing I was going to say is the amount of movement that we have seen in the quarterback market this offseason. I can't recall another offseason like it. We would have had 10 starting quarterbacks move teams.
Big quarterbacks.
It's just unbelievable.
I mean, Russell Wilson, I don't think not a lot of people saw. There were rumors of him being unsettled at Seattle, but that's a big one for me. That changes a team that wasn't contending becomes a contender. Like that's just a huge one there for me.
I think a lot of teams are getting into this position where they're going, all right, well, if I don't think I've got the quarterback that I want or that I think can win a Super Bowl, I need to shift. I need to make an adjustment. So there's a lot of teams that are getting a bit jumpy, and there's still some spots that are unsettled. I think Carolina's a spot where I don't think they're settled at quarterback yet, even with Sam Darnold. The Saints are still, they've been very active in the market as well. The Titans were spoken about early in the off season, but it looks like they're riding out with Tannehill. So there's a bunch of squads which aren't happy with their current setup that are going to look to change. It's very interesting times.
Yeah, with Tannehill at the Titans, I think when you got Henry in that running game, quarterback's almost a placeholder. He's not there for the inspiration. He's there to keep the ball rolling, for want of a better phrase. But there's still, I think, a bit of movement to be had within the league, but just not in the Titans. Yeah.
And speaking of movement as well, a bit of a coaching change over at the Buccaneers. Bruce gone.
Yeah, he's said, no, I've had it. I'm out. I'm done. He's heading into front office with the Bucs there.
Well, this screams to me, Brady not happy with the coaching situation and saying, you want me back? He's gone, which I think is just hilarious.
It's got a bit of LeBron vibes about it at the Lakers to me. I think, Brady's calling the shots there, like LeBron has done with the Lakers, and for that matter, has absolutely tanked with the Lakers this season. But
how about the audacity of the employee just coming in and saying to his boss, "Hey mate, jog on, you're out of here."
Yeah, and that's after walking out and then walking back in and telling him to jog on.
Yeah,
it's Tom Brady. He'll do what he wants, I imagine. I mean, this is all just hearsay, and I mean we've completely come up with this hypothesis ourselves, but
of course we have. That doesn't mean it's not true, though, does it?
Oh no! For all we know, it could be. But Tom Brady commands a lot with his CV, and I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they were bending over backwards to meet his demands.
Yeah, for sure. A sport that is back on the radar now, and we're very excited that it's back on the radar. Formula One. We've had 2 races so far, and it seems to me like the entire dynamic of Formula One has completely shifted from last year to this year, Taylor, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see a lot of new teams moving up the order and being competitive.
Yeah, no longer do we have the Red Bull Mercedes battle. It's Formula One spruiked this for years. The changes will come, and the powers that be won't be the powers that were. It's completely different, and we've seen Ferrari take an early constructors championship lead. Red Bull are still there or thereabouts, but Mercedes are the ones that everyone probably predicted to lose a bit of their power, and it's come to fruition. They're nowhere near as strong. I mean, Lewis Hamilton finished 10th in Saudi Arabia and had to ask.
Started 16th. I think it was his lowest. It was his lowest start in 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, didn't get out of Q3. That's unheard of for Hamilton. That's unreal. I mean, even Hamilton only has to punch out 2 laps generally to get out of Q3.
Well, he didn't even know that how many points you get for finishing 10th.
That's exactly what I was going to get to. Yeah, he had to ask Bono. He was like, "Oh, do we even get points for 10th?" It's pretty unreal. It's really uncharted territory. Sorry, there for Mercedes, and it'd be interesting to see how they navigate that, especially with Russell being new to the team. It's not the same dynamic that they had with Bottas kind of playing second fiddle. I mean, maybe is it a changing of the guard for Mercedes?
I think they have to plan for that, because at the moment the car's not competitive, and Lewis isn't going to stay racing if he doesn't have a chance to win a championship. So if Mercedes can't make the steps that they need to make in, the first few rounds of this season, I wouldn't be surprised if Lewis calls it quits before mid-year. I think that's a legitimate possibility. Like if he knows that car's not competitive, what's he got to prove by sitting around and finishing 10th,
Yeah.
So I think, he's going to be looking for Mercedes to improve. And obviously Mercedes they're not out here to finish mid-pack. So they're going to be doing everything they can to get that car competitive. But, if not, then 100% changing the guard big time.
Yeah, Mercedes, if they can't give him a car that's worthy of winning championships, Hamilton has nothing to prove. I mean, yeah, he wants that 8th world championship for sure. He wants to set himself apart from Schumacher. But if Mercedes can't do it, Red Bull and Ferrari their seats are full. He's not going there to get it. He's got nothing left to prove. He's gone. And he's got plenty of other interests, a burgeoning portfolio of other works around the world for him to focus on. So, I like your call there. I mean, it'd be very controversial for him to walk out. But, yeah, if they can't figure it out, this is his last season for me.
Let's have a chat about McLaren as well. Obviously, the Australian influence there with Daniel Ricciardo. That car has looked very uninspiring as well over the first 2 weeks. Obviously powered by the Mercedes engine, which has clearly been, subpar when compared to the Honda and the Ferrari of the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's pretty sad because they were a team that were tipped to do big things this year. These changes were meant to really work in their favour. They were touted to put out a good car, and it's had nothing but issues. And it's a shame, especially for us Aussies. We want to see Ricciardo do well. Norris is an up-and-coming driver. He's got oodles of talent. He's just oozing talent, but just not happening. And Ricciardo's, along with not being a great fit with the car, has now got mechanical issues. So it's sad to see.
Yeah, and one of the good stories, I think, coming out of the first couple of rounds is Haas and their significant improvement as well. Probably the only downside to that is when we do watch Drive to Survive next year, we're going to have a lot less sort of anger from Gunter, which I think Gunter is one of the best parts of Drive to Survive. So if we're not getting angry Gunter, then I'm disappointed.
Yeah, angry Gunter really. He's a draw card. He's a draw card to that series. He's
yes, he is.
He's great. He's really good value, and hopefully Mick Schumacher can get up. He should be right, but that was a wild crash. He had a Jeddah there. That was, I think, 170 miles into that wall there. It was a real nasty one. Split the car in half.
Could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse than it was, I think. But I think they pulled the car not so much because Schumacher wasn't ready to go, but because if he had a crash during the race, they wouldn't have a car ready for the Australian Grand Prix. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'd imagine he'd be ready to go when they touch down in Australia. It's going to be next weekend, just over a week away.
Yes. That's it. Yep. No, I look forward to it. I wish I could be there, but tickets sold out in a flash, and I didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, well, it's going to be the first Australian Grand Prix since 2019, I believe. It's been held. So it's been a long wait for motorsport fans. So it's going to be really good, and we'll of course cover that one on the channel in the lead up to it. Some more Australian news we haven't had a chance to cover on the channel yet. We haven't had the chit chat for a couple of weeks. Ash Barty, BT, shock retirement. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, completely out of nowhere. I watched the interview she had, and especially with her being so young, that's why, and being top of her game. But when I watched the interview on why her reasoning on retiring, it completely understandable. I think she said she spent 270 days or so away from home in 1 year. So she just wants to spend more time with family. She's achieved all her goals she wanted. She's clearly the number one in the world. One Wimbledon, one Australian Open. So there's nothing else for her to prove on her end. She earned over $30 million prize money, so she's pretty set there. Yeah, it's sad to see. It would have been good to see her come back to Australian Open, see her defend her title. But good on her. Hopefully we see her in another sport. Hopefully she plays the Big Bash.
That is the next question. Where do you think she goes next? Cricket, maybe golf, maybe even AFLW. She's looking to stay local.
Yeah, hopefully any of them. I just want to see her play. She's just a natural athlete in any sport she does. So maybe she'll do all of them. Maybe she'll play AFLW and Big Bash. The way she is, she can do it. See, number one tennis player in the world, you've got to be obviously one of the greatest athletes. So and if she went to AFLW, let's be real, she's going to tear them up in there. She'll probably,
for sure.
Yeah, easy. So,
she's a supreme athlete, but I think cricket's probably the true love that she's got there. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if even it's not this summer coming up, maybe even the following summer if she gives that a bit of a dabble. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. No, that's for sure. But where I did want to lead on from that, obviously our story of the week, Ash Barty, following on, top Australian athletes. Fellas, we're looking to go through some of the top Australian athletes of all time, and I think obviously Ash Barty is right up the top of the tree there for her efforts on the tennis court. But BT, do you have a couple of athletes in mind of some of the best Australian athletes, certainly in our time?
So are we going purely on like achievement type, or are we going like one-off, like a Stephen Bradbury winning a gold medal? Are we going him, or are we going like, obviously you got like an Ian Thorpe, who's obviously going to be up there, but then you got
Bradbury's iconic, but he's not.
Yeah. he's by no means a top athlete.
No, exactly. Yeah. If we're going purely on achievements, then yeah, obviously you got Don Bradman, you got Ian Thorpe. I think I've got a good one. I like Michelle Payne. I reckon she's a good one.
Prince of Penzance from Max Dynamite. Prince of Penzance, it's history at Flemington. Michelle Payne. Prince of Penzance beat Max Dynamite.
To win a Melbourne Cup, as first female to win a Melbourne Cup, and it's obviously how hard it is to win a Melbourne Cup, let alone get there. And Jim went on like a great horse. It was a perfect run from the actual jockey. She wasn't relying on just, it wasn't like a Winx or a Black Caviar type horse. Yeah, I would put her up there. I wouldn't say she's like a top 3 athlete, but she's definitely a top Australian athlete.
Kathy
Scott.
Freeman's there.
Kathy
Freeman's got to be there.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, that's Sydney
and
Olympics.
she's iconic.
Yeah.
Adam Scott when he won the Masters. Yeah.
There it is, Adam Scott.
There's a lot. Us Australians, we're just good at most sports, aren't we?
Well, Timmy Cahill, I mean, probably doesn't have the accolades, but the exposure he gave to Australian soccer was just unparalleled. I think he was, and he's got the old celebration, at the flag. I think that's iconic too.
Self-inflicted, but here comes Tim Cahill. Oh, what a response! A sensational volley.
You got to add in Sam Kerr there as well.
Yeah.
Sets Kerr going. She's onside as well here, Sam Kerr. It's Kerr for 3. Oh, my word. What an unbelievable goal from Sam Kerr.
Yeah, she's been a trailblazer for women's football, especially around here in Oz.
But the greatest, one of the greatest, he's obviously not greatest Australian athlete by any means, but greatest Australian moment, one of them, Aloisi's goal. It's very hard to beat that.
Yep.
Here's Aloisi for a place in the World Cup. He's scored! Australia have done it! Come on!
That's got to be up there with one of the greatest Australian moments. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, sure.
Who have you got?
Oh, I think Kathy's up there for me. You know, when I think about great Australian athletes, I think of the Olympics. And I think those Sydney Olympics are just, maybe it was a time that we were growing up, you know, and we were young, you know, we would have been, I think, six or seven at the time. But, you know, Thorpe and Freeman from those Olympics for me just stick out so much in my mind. And then, of course, Bradman, as you said, I mean, I think he's the greatest cricketer of all time. So I think for me, if we're talking, you know, greatest athletes, you've got to be the best in your sport, you know, to be greatest athletes. And I think Bradman did that. I think Thorpe showed that he was, you know, the greatest swimmer at the time while he was through, and Kathy Freeman as well. So, I mean, they sit comfortably there for me as the top three.
Where do we put Danny Rick? Because of how hard it is to get a seat in a Formula One team. And we got to give him a little bit more props because he's from Perth. So
we do, but I mean, he's never been the best. No. He's won a few races, sure, but I mean, Mark Webber won a few races as well. You know, so I'm a big Danny Rick fan. I love what he's done. I love his charisma. I think he's an absolute ripper.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think he belongs in that conversation.
Because you can say, what's obviously winning a gold medal. That's one of the best achievements anyone would want. But in comparison, like, how big of a difference is it winning a gold medal, or even making the Olympics, to winning a Formula One race? Because obviously there's just so many limited spots in Formula One to get a seat.
But you also get 20-something chances to do it a year.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
That's, I think, the amount of times and chances you get to do it kind of dilutes how good it is.
Yeah.
Not to say, I mean, I think Ricciardo's won 8 or 9 Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a fair chunk. That's, to me, would be like winning a couple of gold medals, I think.
I think Danny Rick would have to win a championship to be the equivalent of a gold medal. You know what I mean? If he wins a championship, then he's the best in the sport. If you're winning a gold medal, you're the best in the sport. I mean, that's how I say it.
But I'm like comparing to other like Australians in their sport. Obviously, he's never going to be the best in Formula One. You're not going to beat anyone who's up there.
He might if he goes back to Red Bull.
Yeah, that's true. But then if you look on it on that way, like Taylor put it, then you've got to kind of rule out like golf. How many tournaments these guys play? How many chances they have to win a title playing golf? So then it's just so much. You could talk about this stuff for ages because there's so many criteria, so many things you can just throw in there. What sport's harder? What sport's harder? What's harder to win in? What's easier to get in? Obviously, everyone wants to win because obviously not all these sports are in the Olympics. So like Danny Ricciardo doesn't have a chance to win a gold medal. Where obviously Kathy Freeman's never going to win a Formula One race. You never know.
Well, she could.
I'm not saying that. But,
can't rule it out.
But yeah, there's just so much criteria what you could go through. I'm going to throw a question to both you fellas. And this is you. We haven't spoken about this before or anything. So you have no idea what I'm about to say. Right now, we're all the same age, 27, 28. What if you had the next 3 years to go closest to professional in a sport? What sport would it be?
I'm picking up archery because I think it's a skill-based sport. I can keep the sloppy rig. I don't have to get in absolutely supreme nick. And I could see myself going to the Olympics in what's it going to be, 2024. Yeah, give me a couple of years. I'll go pick up archery. I'll And,
where's the money in that, though? Where's the money?
I don't need the money. You know, you just said you need to be the best in the sport, and I reckon, you know, not to knock anyone that is a professional archer. I'd like to talk to you because I'd like to know how to do it, so I can jump on board.
Next Olympics, we're gonna see you there, Josh.
Yeah. If you do, clip this.
Oh, that would
I'd like to see it.
What about you, Taylor?
I'm going golf.
Cool. I have
Yeah, you don't. I mean, following on from the sloppy rig, you don't have to have the best rig.
that.
You don't want to be sloppy, but you don't have to have the best rig getting around.
They have led the tour multiple times in driving distance, but he has had a fantastic touch. And look at this one, 4-2.
There's no expectation for you to be in good nick to be a golfer.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more it's a technique based game, and if I'm going to be professional at it, that's the hardest part for me. That the technique and getting all that right. There's plenty of money, as we saw. Just we haven't mentioned it, but Cameron Smith winning the Players Championship, pocketed off the top of my head, it's $4 or $5 million for that tournament. It's the most expensive golf tournament in the world, and our man Cameron Smith has won it. But yeah, that would be me. I think you get to travel all around the world, go to all these nice golf clubs, and yeah.
But do you reckon you'll get there in 3 years? Do you reckon in 3 years you're going to be winning $4 to $5 million? Because if so, I'd like to invest. If that's okay.
Probably not. But like, if you give me the tools and
he has a chance.
If I had the chance to be, professional, I'm picking up golf. And if you give me 3 years to really knuckle down and perfect my 9-iron, I think I'd be taking golf.
Do you reckon you can win a gold in 3 years by the next Olympics, Josh?
I think I'm more of a chance of winning gold in the Olympics in 3 years than Tazza is of winning a major. I'm just throwing that out there.
I think you're right, because I don't think it would be very hard to make the archery team.
No.
Olympics.
Yeah.
Who knows? I have no idea.
I feel like the field is a little smaller.
Yeah, you would think so.
Which is why I'm going there. That's exactly why I'm going there. Now, BT, you came up with this question. Clearly, you've got something in mind, or you've been practicing something out the back, and you just want to bring it to the people and just brag about your sport of choice.
All right. So I had two. All right. Either if I'm practicing every day, like I'm not seeing my son, I'm not seeing the missus, anything. Table tennis. I rate my hand-eye coordination. I reckon I could work on that.
That's tough because we do a regular table tennis tournament once a year at our workplace. And there's a man, Com, and he is a reasonably professional table tennis player. I could practice every day all year for the rest of the year. I'm not beating Com. He'd absolutely smoke me. So I think you're no chance. But yeah, that's all right. Keep going.
But my second one, I reckon this one's a good one. This one's a fun one as well. Darts. Professional dart player.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
We'd go and watch you play too. We would go and watch that. 182.
His face as the boos ring round the arena here in Frankfurt. Fabulous from both players. Fantastic from Schindler.
The StatChat crew's there.
I love that. I reckon that's a great pick.
I reckon that would be good fun. That would be wicked to play.
Yeah. I just love how serious they get as well when they're throwing the dart, especially when they're on that 9 darter, and then the camera zooms in on the face, and
it's just so good to watch as well. For such a basic game, like not much to it. Obviously, it's probably a lot harder than what you think, but not much to it. You throw a dart at a board, but it's because it's the crowd.
The fact that it's a game you can play at the pub as well, but then turn into a professional sport, I think that's what makes it so good and so entertaining.
Yeah, that would be wicked.
What we'd like from you in the comments is let us know who you think is more likely to get to the top of their chosen sport in 3 years' time. Is it BT with his darts? Is it me with my archery? Or is it Taylor with his golf? Let us know in the comments. I don't think we can put a poll on this video, but we'll find a way. We want some good, honest feedback. Right square between the eyes.
Can I change my pick?
No.
Lawn bowls.
No, we're going.
Lawn bowls. That's up your alley.
Yeah,
You've got a bit of history with lawn bowls,
I
don't you?
do. I do.
Yeah.
I got a bit of form. It's probably been a decade, but I'm sure I could pick them up, and I wouldn't be too shabby.
I actually know a bloke who I think is the state champion lawn bowler. So if you are going to go down that path, I might be able to pick a little...
Take some tips and
Get the hook up.
okay. Look, let's do it. Set it up.
Done. Get it sorted. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you like the video. We really appreciate your support, and so it's good to know that you guys are out there enjoying our content. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of our latest content. Aside from that, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks, guys. Cheers.